Hello, welcome back to Paul's Stuff. It's my space on YouTube where I talk about all the things I love. Lots of Star Wars, lots of lightsabers. Today's connected with lightsabers. Today what we're going to take a look at is the 18650 lithium ion batteries, which are used as the power source in Nexus stroke LGT sabers. And most other sabers as well, to be fair. So this is particularly focused on the batteries that I use in my LGT sabers. As you know, this channel tends to focus on LGT sabers rather than anything else, on Nexus sabers as they're now known. And yeah, today we're going to look at those 18650 batteries. What are they? What do all the numbers on them mean? What do you need to look out for? How do you treat them? How do you look after them? So yeah, we're going to do that. I'm going to cut now to the overhead camera and we'll have a look at 18650 batteries for lightsabers. Okay, so we're going to take a look at 18650 batteries. Try and cover all aspects of these batteries for you. So what is an 18650 battery? So it's a lithium ion battery. So it's a lithium based chemistry in the battery. Lithium batteries are sensitive to over discharge. They're also sensitive to being overcharged. So it's important that you have some protection against that. They're also very susceptible, because these produce quite a high current, they're also very susceptible to damage from being short-circuited. So you need to be aware of those things when you're working with lithium-ion batteries. So let's have a look at 18650s and see what they're all about. So what does the 18650 mean? So if we take one of these batteries, this is a standard Nexus battery. The number 18650 breaks down into three parts. The first is 18, and these are nominally 18 millimeters in diameter. The next number is 65, and these are again nominally 65 millimeters in length. Now you'll find that all of these are a little bit longer, and I'll explain why that is in a moment. But the standard is 65 millimeters long. So this one is 68 millimeters long. I'll tell you why that is shortly. The last figure is the 0 at the end of the 18650, and that means it's this cylindrical form factor. So that's where we get our 18650 from. 18 millimeters diameter, 65 millimeters in length, and a cylindrical form factor. Now, on most 18650 batteries, you will see some numbers. So I'm going to have a look at this one for this. Actually, we'll look at both of these for this. So hopefully you can see now there are some numbers on here. These are both Nexus batteries. The white one is what comes with baselit sabers, and the purple one is what comes with near pixel sabers. You may find, I believe I've seen them in silver covers as well and black covers, but generally at the moment they seem to be in these two different colours. So we've got a number of different figures on here. This one has 3.7 volts. Now again, lithium ion batteries come in multiples of cells. These are single cell batteries. Each lithium ion battery cell will have a nominal voltage of 3.7 volts. That doesn't mean that it will always show 3.7 volts. When they're fully charged, they'll show around 4.2 volts. When they're fully discharged, they'll show around 3.5 volts. If you go much below 3.5 volts with them, you stand a chance of damaging the internal structure of the battery. And if you go over 4.2 volts with them, you stand a chance of doing that as well. So this is why if you watch my video on battery charging, I suggest using some form of smart charger with these. It's perfectly fine to charge them in the hilt, and we'll come on to why that is shortly. But if you want to get the most out of your batteries, it's probably better to use a smart charger. That will take care of all of the charging requirements for the battery. It won't overcharge it, it won't over discharge it. It will make sure it's not over discharged. You can't charge them if they're over discharged. It will take care of the battery much better. So that's their voltage. You'll see most of these will be marked as 3.7 volts. That's the kind of the middle of their voltage range. Maximum charge, they'll give about 4.2 volts, and they'll go down to about 3.5 volts. They will give out a good voltage for most of that time. They tail off very sharply towards the end. So where with older battery technologies like NiCad and nickel metal hydride, they used to drain from a high voltage down to a low voltage in a linear way. These don't do that. These will supply a higher voltage for a longer amount of time and then drop off steeply towards the end of their charge. So that's our voltage. We've seen on there, it says 3.7 volts. So let's see what else we've got on here. We've got 18650, that's that battery designation. So again, 18 millimeters, 65 millimeters, cylindrical form. And then we have 3000 MAH. Now, MAH stands for milliamp hours. So what this means is if you drove this battery at 3000 milliamps, if you drew 3000 milliamps from it, that's 3 amps, that's a lot. That's a reasonable amount. Then this battery will last for an hour. So this is our capacity of the battery. This is how much time the battery will run for. And the higher that number is, the more runtime you will get from your battery. Now, when you're looking at buying batteries, you'll find a lot of cheaper batteries with very fanciful claims as to their milliamp hour rating. I've seen 10,000 milliamp hours, 20,000 milliamp hours. If you see batteries that are labelled as giving, if you see 18650 batteries that are labelled as giving you that amount of milliamp hours, I can absolutely guarantee you now that they won't. Probably the maximum that you can get out of this form factor for a lithium ion battery currently is about 4,000 milliamp hours. And most high capacity batteries are going to be around 3,600 milliamp hours. So as we can see on these two, the white one is claiming to be 3,000 milliamp hours and the purple one is claiming to be 3,600 milliamp hours. On the purple one, we've also got 10A, that 10 amps. Now that is what is known as the maximum sustained drain of the battery. So That's the maximum amount of amps that this battery can give out over a period of time. It can give out slightly more for a shorter period of time, but that's its sustained power output or amperage output. Now that figure's important in terms of if you've got a baselit saber, they'll quite happily run on anything from about 5 amps up. If you've got a NeoPixel, however, you're lighting lots of NeoPixel lamps in the blade, and you want this amperage figure to be as high as possible. This one doesn't actually have, the white one here doesn't have that sustained power output marked on it. I suspect the white ones are around 5 to 10 amps. The purple ones that you get from Nexus are always marked up as 10 amps. The last things that we've got on here, on these ones, are NeoPixel protected battery. And this one says in smaller writing somewhere, it has rechargeable battery with PCB. So what those mean are that these have actually got a small circuit board as part of the battery, which will protect the battery from overcharging, over discharging and short circuit. Now I've taken the outer cover off of one of these white ones to show you what that looks like inside. So this is basically one of these 18650 batteries, but without its cover on. Most of these batteries these days are made in China, some are made in Japan, some are made in Korea, but most of them will come from China. And they're these generic sort of blue colour, or some of them are purple, some of them are pink, green I've seen, yellow. These covers are put on at the, I assume at the Nexus factory to distinguish them as batteries that are coming out of their factory. But these will have all been made in a factory in China. Even the better quality ones probably, although some are made in Japan and Korea, as I say. So remember we said that these are 65 millimeters long. If we measure the blue part of this battery, that's exactly 65 millimeters. The little bit extra that we've got on these batteries comes from this black section at the top. And that is the printed circuit board. There actually is a little circuit board there with little chips on it. This strap here is the negative battery leads going into that circuit board. There is one underneath here. If you can just see in there, there's a strap that's going onto the positive part of the board. So the power from the battery is running through this little circuit board before it goes anywhere else. And that little circuit board is there as protection. As I say, it protects from overcharging, over discharging, and it will also protect from short circuit as well. So really important when you're using a lightsaber to have a protected battery. It's really nice to see that inside of these Nexus ones there is a protection circuit. I have had this apart and it is a proper protection circuit. One thing you'll find with batteries that are described as being protected is that some of them are only protected for short circuit. They basically have a little fuse in them. And if you ever short circuit the battery, the fuse will blow and the battery is done. These actually have a circuit board that will just cut the battery off and cut the contacts off on the battery and not allow it to be used in those circumstances. So these are much better. And if you're going to charge in the hilt, particularly in Nexus sabers, always make sure that you have a protected battery. So yeah, this is what they look like inside. You'll get a couple of form factors. They always have a flat base like this. This is what is known as a button top. So it has the little button on the top. You can also get these batteries with a flat top. Nexus sabers kind of require a button top. Some lightsabers that I've had, I think the Sabe Neo electronics packages that I've used in the past, they required a flat top battery. But most sabers you come across are going to require a button top battery like this one. So these batteries are perfectly okay. They're actually reasonably nice batteries. I've never had a problem with one of these. Most retailers, if you do have a battery problem, will replace the battery. But I want to make sure that I've got the best battery I can possibly have in my Neopixel sabers. And so I swapped my batteries out for one of these. So again, this is by a company called Keep Power. It's an 18650 battery. These are 3000 milliamp hours, so they're not the most you can find, but the important thing with these for Neopixels is they have a maximum continuous discharge current of 15 amps. So the ones that come with the sabers are rated at 10 amps. These Keep Power ones are rated at 15 amps. They have a protected circuit, it says here protection circuit built in. These actually have the protective circuit at the bottom. And again, if we measure this battery up, it's going to be the same dimensions, 18 millimeters by just over 65. There we go, 68. And that round form factor. I buy these from a company called New Battery in the UK. That's the best place I found to buy them from. You can get them from various sources. I'll leave a link to New Battery in the description. And lastly, one of the things I do with my batteries, this doesn't look overly Star Wars. It's a battery. And I know most batteries are never going to be seen, but I like to dress my batteries up a little bit and make them look a little bit more Star Wars. And the way I do that is to use one of these battery wraps, which I get from KR Sabers. It's basically a thin tube that you put the battery down into. So if we were going to do this battery, there's no need to take the cover off. You can do these with the covers on. You'd slide it down in, make sure it's nice and even, and then you heat the wrapper. You heat the wrap and it shrinks onto the battery. I heat mine with a domestic hairdryer. That seems to provide enough heat to shrink these down really nicely onto the batteries. So if you want to make your batteries look a little bit more Star Wars in your lightsabers, that's one way you can go. There are other places that do wraps as well. I think KR Sabers even do self-adhesive wraps as well. There's all sorts of options. Just makes the batteries look a little bit better, a little bit more Star Wars, if you like. So I think that's everything with 18650 batteries. Once again, you know, the name, the 18650, comes from the form factor of the battery. The milliamp hours are the capacity of the battery, so the higher that number is, the longer that battery will run for. The continuous discharge amperage is important in terms of Neopixels, really. With a NeoPixel blade, you want to have as high a continuous discharge amperage as possible. 15 amps from the key powers is brilliant. 10 amps that you get with them is adequate. You may notice slight differences in brightness between a 10 amp and a 15 amp. I don't really notice that in the Nexus sabers, but it's possible. They have a nominal voltage of 3.7 volts, but that can go as high as 4.2 and as low as 3.5 or slightly lower. They are lithium-ion technology. They don't like being overcharged, over-discharged or short-circuited. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about 18650 batteries for lightsabers, particularly for Nexus sabers. As you know, my channel focuses particularly on sabers from Nexus. If you get a saber from Nexus, the battery that comes with it is okay. It's absolutely fine. If you want a better battery, I would go something like the Keep Power 18650s. They're great. If you've got a NeoPixel, look out for the 15 amp ones. Leave a link in the description to where you can get those. And obviously, if you want to dress them up, battery wraps are the way to go. So we'll go back to me in the chair and just close this video up. Welcome back. So that's 18650 batteries. We've looked at what they are, where that 18650 name comes from, what all the numbers mean on them, how do I get the best battery that I can. We've looked at dressing them up to make them look more Star Wars with those lovely wraps. There'll be links in the description. I mentioned New Battery, where I get all my batteries from. There'll be a link there in the description to them, and also to Saber Armory, KR Sabers, where I get my battery wraps from. KR also sell batteries. I believe they also sell Keep Power batteries as well, so you could get them all in one place if you wanted to. Entirely up to you. But yeah, that's today's video. So hopefully you found that interesting. If you have, please give the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel. If you do subscribe, hit that little notification bell. That will let you know when new content is posted up. But for now, I think that's everything for today. So all that leaves me to say is cheerio.